a little bit about myself first, sort of a history of what's been going on in my life. I did have a wonderful 20-page presentation that I did give on Thursday night for the VIPs. But you know what we're going to do with that? I was told by my kids to wing it. So bear with me if I fumble and stumble. Mic's up. Just give me the hands up. Just bear with me. If I lose my place, fumble and stumble, I'll try not to, because I have some pretty powerful people behind me. First of all, I want to thank Kendall, Mary, Oracle Stone Productions for bringing me here, bringing us here. There's so many people who I've met, all the previous presenters. Everybody's been so supportive, warning me about the adventure I'm about to go on. Let me tell you, they're not kidding. I sort of started my life as a bit of a different sort of child, the kind of kid who went out and brought everything home. If I saw something, I may not have understood it, but I'm going to bring it home and study it. I mean, it ranged from everything: old bottles, old cars, old pets, old rocks, sticks, stones, you name it, I gathered it. And it sort of became a dangerous addiction over the years. And in one of my adventures, a little bit later in life, a friend of mine, an associate who was a pretty heavy antique dealer, I was just at his house one day, and he had just been cleaning out his father's estate. And apparently there were some fairly moneyed people up in Pennsylvania. And I felt better because their house looked worse than my house, with the amount of things there. But out of the corner of my eye, just happened to spot a box. For no real reason, I went over and approached it, took a peek inside. And I really didn't have a clue what I was looking at. She spoke to me. And when I say she, validation from many other folks in and out of this room have told me about her incredible female presence and energy. I named her Eshelle. I've owned her for over 20 years with very little outside contact. A few adventures here, a few adventures there. I was very excited. I think it was back in the winter of '95, turning into '96. I was sitting at work, and I get a phone call from Christopher Morton over at the BBC. I'm like, wow, what's this? And he tells me that he wants to bring me to London. Oh, London, because he heard I owned a crystal skull. And very few people even knew that fact. Early on, the only people I ever had any communications were Mr. Nick Nocerino and Ms. Parks. And I assume it must have been Nick who gave my information to Mr. Morton, who called me. So I was so excited getting invited over for the British Museum tests. But then as quickly as I was invited, I was disinvited. I am not a museum. Nobody knew who I was. They basically didn't care. I was not official enough. Obviously, it was not time for Eshelle to take the stage in the public. So Many more years went by. Very quietly, would bounce from my closet to the safe, to under the bed, beside the bed, on the shelf. So we had fun moving around the home a lot. We played with the lights, just had our normal little adventures. But unfortunately, I was not able to really be touched in the normal sense of being touched by these objects. So as things progressed, my wife and I decided in about 2006 we were going to uproot, and we ended up from Baltimore, Maryland, rather typical East Coast hectic lifestyle. We decided we were going to go someplace where the lifestyle was a little more calm. So we ended up in a little area outside of North Phoenix. Wonderful spot, middle of the desert. My interests, cactus, rocks, metaphysics, UFOs, they're all over there. And I've had fun experiences with that in just the last few years. So we ended up getting out here, and I got interested again in just doing a little research. And thank goodness for the internet, there's a wealth of material that's there. So I started perusing, and I go, my goodness, there was a 999 Crystal Skull Conference in Tempe, Arizona, half an hour from my house. I missed it. A little more time went by, and I heard about the 10-10-10. New York City. I can't go there. Just, even if I was invited, I couldn't do it. So then, 11-11-11, Los Angeles. I said, wow, I can drive there. So things sort of fell into place, a lot of synchronicities, and I owe it all to a few gentlemen and ladies in this room, because I wouldn't have gotten any further along in this journey if I had not gone into the internet and found Yap. I go, wow, here's a fellow up here, he's got a website, he's in Sedona, Arizona. And it's, of course, Sedona, hour and a half from my house. So I get on the phone and call, get a hold of Yap and say, gee, you seem like you might know something about these things. I have a crystal skull. Actually, I had more. I have 2 crystal skulls. So he was very gracious. We went up and met Yap and his wife, Jeannie. Little problem. We opened the box, we're looking. But my friend Eshelle had some problems, some energy, very clouded. And of course, this was a little bit beyond my scope of expertise. So as it turned out, I felt so comfortable with Yap and Jeannie to leave what I call the kids with them for, I don't know whether it's weeks or months. So he did the hard work. I just had to carry them around. He worked on the clarity of Eshelle, because apparently she had seen some things in her history. Started out her life as very feminine, shamanic type healing stone. Later on, things not so good. That male energy, that masculine energy got in there, messed her up. I don't know what to call it other than a firewall. And I would keep talking to Yap and said, how the kids doing? And he goes, oh, still, Jeannie won't even let me bring her in the house. I was like, wow. And as it turned out, after hours and hours, I can't even thank them enough, of time and meditations and cleansings and consulting with other people in the crystal skull world, Shazam, we got the report back that she's ready to meet the rest of the world. I was like, wow, that's pretty exciting. And we have 11-11-11 coming up, which just another one of those wonderful synchronicities, involving these. And the amount of information that I have been able to glean out from our speakers this weekend has just been incredible. Because, talk to me and talk to me and talk to me. It was sort of like in bits and pieces. When I saw his presentation today on the board, then it just sort of all made sense. I said, now I get it. A little slow study, but I get it now. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I also want to apologize to Stephen and Teresa over there, because the kids had a camp over in their room last night. And apparently, Eshelle was a very yakety old lady, spoke Mayan to them all night. I keep waiting. I'm getting dribs and drabs, impressions here, impressions there. I've been able to go to them and ask, where did I leave I'm just terrible about hiding things from myself. And so just last week, something very important, couldn't find it. I said, okay, let's try to pay attention to what we might be learning about it. A little inner calmness, think about it, talk to the skulls, and ask, what did I do with that? And honestly, in 5 minutes, it just came to me, just like a lightning bolt, hit me in the head. That's what I hid that thing, because I was, for 2 days, tearing my house apart. It was nuts. I shouldn't be worried about things like that, but it happens. So I'm just so grateful and happy to have had the opportunity to own objects like this. And I know this was not particularly planned or anything, but we're winging it. Because apparently one of the things that hurts the crystal skulls is they're not worked, they're not activated. Neither one of these skulls had been handled for probably at least 50 to 60 years. In the transaction that led to my ownership, one of the more unusual items that eventually came my way was an actual original bill of sale from 1939 from the archaeologist J.G. Johnson out of Tennessee, who wrote to the original, or not the original, but one of the previous guardians / owners about, enclosed, I received your payment of $2,000 bank check from Williamsport Bank of PA. The crystal skull is 100% real. I purchased it in 1916 down in Central America. It was dug in front of my very eyes. Sorry I have to part with it. Best wishes, good luck, J.G. Johnson. This was a real problem because we didn't know what to think. I certainly didn't know. A crystal skull, what's it worth? Commerce kind of gets weird. But the son, who more or less inherited these, he kept seeing that number and going, wow, if my father paid $2,000 for something in 1939, it must be very valuable. So they went through a lot of finagling and wranglings and arguing and back and forth. And eventually, both skulls came into my possession. I almost consider myself, as well as the guardian, the parent. So for years, I've just known them as the kids. Part of Yap's triangle of duality spoke to me today. I was looking, the male, the female, and the child. This is the child part of me, I hope. The spirits are certainly there. And the more that people are able to put the love and energy into the skulls, the more powerful they become. So that's pretty much why we decided to make the trek here this weekend. And I was told it was going to rain because water is part of Eshelle's history. And the Eshelle, she didn't even have a name for 19, 20 years. Just another strange set of circumstances that came to me thanks to the internet, researching Mayan goddesses. And I found Eshelle, moon goddess, jaguar goddess. Sounded pretty good to me. Just like that. It's like, that's her name. And this younger gal is Lucy, also very unusual. She's not even trying to be a human. She's been described by most as a early world or old world simian monkey skull, 36 to 38 teeth. It's part of my adventure to try to figure her out a little bit too. And I hope with the help of many of you people here who want to share with this adventure of mine, I need your help. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Kirk, for your willingness to bring them finally out after 20 years. Because many people, I'm absolutely convinced, will really enjoy the connection with these two skulls. And as I said, almost every year we get a new person adding to the group of those who are sharing crystal skulls. I'm really happy that you joined the group.
Thank you all. Quick word. People have asked me about the two different skulls, but I have to agree with somebody from last evening. The connection of the two really is so important because they've been together for so long. They're my team. Thank you.
So we have come to the end of 2 quite eventful days. We have worked with many different energies. We have had experiences in all different kinds. I'm sure we talked a lot with all kinds of other people, had surprises. And what the most important point was, we have built up a wonderful energy in these 2 days. And I'm pretty sure that Los Angeles is not the same anymore after this event. Coming to the end, it's always important to close properly. As you know, we started with Grandmother Flor de Mayo and Miss Imani. They set the tone of this event. Who better can also help us to close and integrate everything that we have experienced this particular 2 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, Again, let's welcome Grandmother Flor de Mayo and Miss Imani.